It's okay.
I thought we had a few more.
It's so good.
We do have a few more.
No, on the phone, on the computer right now, it says, it's interesting. On the computer, it says it's past 8, but on the clock, it says it's 5 to 8. Hey guys, welcome to a new live session from NZ Pocket Guide. Today, we're going to be talking about traveling in New Zealand. We're going to answer all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. And as per usual, Laura is finishing her quick Tetris 99 championship. She's not doing too bad, actually, today. She finished third, so that's pretty good for us. Anyway, what is today? Today, oh, yes, today.
What international day are we on?
Let's celebrate today. International Biscuit Day.
Oh, nice. I'm on board with that.
That's my kind of celebration. So here you go. I'm going to eat biscuits while you guys watch me. No. So we're here to answer all your questions about traveling in New Zealand because we kind of are the experts of traveling in New Zealand. Usually, Laura will tell you why we are the experts of traveling in New Zealand, but right now she's busy. So
it's not very professional.
We are the experts about traveling in New Zealand because we are the writers behind NZ Pocket Guide, which is this website right here, and I can even put it on screen. It is New Zealand's largest travel guide. There's thousands of articles for you to peruse at your leisure and plan your trip in New Zealand.
I think I'm going to stop this.
During this live session, we are answering all your questions. You put them in the live chat, or you send it to us earlier on throughout the week. Is that what
we're the team behind NZPocketGuide.com. This is Robin and I'm Laura, and we run NZPocketGuide.com, which is New Zealand's largest travel guide because it literally has thousands and thousands and thousands of articles to help you plan the perfect trip to New Zealand. Of course, when you're actually able to come to New Zealand, because yes, once again, the borders are closed as of the time of filming, which is it still May? May 2021.
30th.
The 30th, so I assume that's the last day of May, is it?
Yep.
The borders are still closed, so you can't really travel around New Zealand unless you're in New Zealand.
31st, so
not the last day of May. So and if you guys have any questions, what we do every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time, which you can find what time that is in your time zone in the handy link in the description. But during this live Q&A session, you guys come into the live chat and ask your New Zealand travel questions directly to us. But if you do miss the live chat, we also pull questions together from the comments section of any of our YouTube videos, so we can go through some of those questions as well. So ask away on the live chat, anything to do with traveling in New Zealand, and we are here to help. All right, let's get started with the live chat. So this morning we have Nathan saying, Kia ora, Laura and Robin. Kia ora.
How are you doing, Nathan? We also have Kiwi Lauren that says Kia ora. So say hi, Robin, Laura, and Weet-Bix. Weet-Bix is here.
Never forget Weet-Bix, our handy little mascot.
Never forget Weet-Bix. We have Clay Bryant, which is a local in Dunedin. Nathan, by the way, is a local in Taupo. Clay says morning. We have King Kuber, official, that says hello.
Ooh, hello.
We have Emoji Guy, which is here saying Kia ora and send us emojis of... What's his name was already? Is dubbing? No, it's not. It's not dubbing.
I don't know.
Oh my god, I'm a medium. An angel and a lot of things. There is also a horse and unicorn. That's interesting. And we have Nicole, which is joining us, and she says, "Good evening, Laura and Robin." So I'm betting Nicole is in Europe.
Yes.
Since for us it is the morning, so for us right now 8 a.m. here in New Zealand.
And it's on a Sunday morning.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead, put them in the live chat. In the meantime, here's a quick roundup of what happened in the world of travel. In New Zealand in the last few days, like this week. So the New Zealand borders are now open with only one country fully, which is with the Cook Islands. The Cook Island is the South Pacific country of the shores of New Zealand. It's a state in association with New Zealand. So there is already quite a good relationship between New Zealand and the Cook Island. And the Cook Island has been COVID-19 free for the entire pandemic, which is pretty awesome. So the borders are open over there and people can travel back and forth without quarantine from the Cook Island. It's a nice paradise and it's basically giving an opportunities for the Kiwis to escape the winter because, yes, we are entering the winter in only a couple of days here in New Zealand. So in New Zealand, we are entering winter, as I said, in a couple of days. So it's going to be becoming colder, wetter and all that jazz. So that's why a lot of Kiwis like to travel. Now, the other option is to travel to Australia. So there are some border openings with Australia. However, the state of Victoria, which has had quite a significant amount of outbreaks lately, is out of
out of that loop.
Yeah, out of that loop, yes. So there is now no more free travel zone between New Zealand and the state of Victoria, but other parts of Australia are, opened and you can travel there. So that's basically where we are at in the state of travel in New Zealand. We don't have any new update on like when would the borders be open and everything like that. It's just more of a wait and see. When it comes down to the vaccine happening in New Zealand, so we are still on the stage 3 of the vaccine, which is basically the vaccine rollout, which is basically vaccinating people which are at risk. So people which are working at the borders have already been vaccinated, healthcare professionals have already been vaccinated, and now they're working on people which are at risk, like people with already pre-existing medical conditions, as well as people which are a little bit old.
To put it mildly.
Yes, more than 65. That's very ancient. I'm joking. Please don't kill me in the comments. So that's where the rollout is happening. And the rollout for the general population, including Laura and I, has been announced for starting around the end of June. So here you go. You should be all caught up. Obviously, check out the real news if you do want to get like in-depth coverage of all those things. It's just a quick roundup for you guys to know where we are at. Adil says, Kia ora, Robin and Laura. Kim Lauren says, it's 2 p.m. on Saturday here, and she's in Saskatchewan in Canada. Clay says, great, I have an excuse to have the biscuit tin with me. Move over, healthy breakfast. Yes, who
just
cares
have
about
a tin
healthy?
of biscuits.
Yes. And Nicole says, are there microbreweries with good beers in New Zealand? When we are able to travel finally to New Zealand, we would like to visit some breweries.
You will be able to visit many breweries in New Zealand. There
is a lot of breweries around New Zealand. In fact, there is hundreds of breweries in New Zealand.
I think the last statistic I saw was that there are around 160 breweries and microbreweries in New Zealand, and that's probably going up because there's a lot of sort of people that make beer as a hobby in New Zealand. And you by all means can definitely visit a brewery or two while you're traveling in New Zealand. That will not be difficult.
Yes.
We do have articles on nzpocketguide.com listing all the best beer tours, all the brewery tours, they're all the same thing, all the different breweries where you can go and try their beers on tap there, for instance. Yeah, there's definitely lots of opportunity to do that. And you can also check on our YouTube channel us actually doing videos of visiting several breweries around the country. For instance, we do have a video on visiting the Monteith's Brewery, which is based in Greymouth on the west coast. We have a video of us visiting Wanaka Beer Works, based in Wanaka on the South Island. And where else have we done? Oh, Invercargill Brewery, but that's not open anymore.
Yeah. So I just wanted to actually show you that if you want, Nicole. So I'm on NZ Pocket Guide right now, and just as a search bar, I just type breweries right here. So NZ Pocket Guide is the largest travel guide to New Zealand. I already said all that shebang. And so on here, for example, just in Wellington, we are listing 14 breweries and craft bars in the country. And there is really a lot of them. You get a little bit of spiel of all of them. If I was in Wellington, this would be kind of my favorite right now, the Tuatara Brewery, just because the bottles, they're like shaped like a tuatara, which is a New Zealand kind of lizards. It's really cool. So there is a lot of different breweries in New Zealand, and this is just Wellington. There is 14 of them, so treat yourself.
Yeah, so there's definitely lots of opportunity to visit breweries in New Zealand. You'll have no trouble finding amazing breweries in New Zealand.
Yes. And you can check out our favorite as well and come back and tell us if they were good or not. So that's the thing as well. Maybe we recommend you something you like grabbing.
Yeah, I mean, you do ask for good beer in New Zealand, but we're not really massive. We do like beer just to drink casually, but we're not really beer connoisseurs. So we couldn't really tell you if it is like super amazing taste and quality and all that. I mean, they all taste very different. They're very hoppy. So especially there's a big craft beer culture in New Zealand. So people do tend to really like really hoppy and strong beer. So that tends to be what the microbreweries do.
Yeah, I remember when we did visit the Beer Works brewery in Wanaka, we went with a couple of friends from Germany. And they really did enjoy how hoppy the beers were. For me, that's a little too bitter, but they did really like super bitter beer, so they really did enjoy it. But everybody has different tastes. I like my beers to be a little bit more subtle.
Yes, I like mine being sort of like, I guess, a refreshing beer to have on like a hot summer's day, sort of like Some people might say a bit watered down, but I prefer
There's no
it like
shame in
that.
liking that if you just wanna,
It's just a refreshing, like mild tasting beer.
Yeah. Okay, Nicole say thank you. Even before we finish answering your question, that's nice.
Cool, you're welcome.
By the way, guys, if you do find this useful, make sure to hit like, subscribe, all the shebang.
All the stuff that YouTube tells us to tell you today.
Honestly,
you can see our heart is in it. But yeah, click like. That's a good way to support us.
We're here to answer questions. We're not here to tell you to press buttons, but YouTube keeps on telling us on screen, like, tell them to press buttons. Okay, Monica Encolias, she says, good morning. I am from Europe. Hey, yeah, how are you doing? She said, but I want to ask update on Indian travel ban for travel, but corona case is going down every day. So there is any idea update on high-risk countries? Honestly, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, New Zealand currently only has like its borders open with some states in Australia and just the Cook Islands. I think it's going to take quite a while until everything kind of gets opened. So if you look at our latest New Zealand border predictions, we actually think that the New Zealand borders are not going to start reopening for like larger countries and everything until 2022 at the earliest. It's just our gut feeling, just our predictions. It's nothing official, and there has been no official announcement just yet. So we'll see what will happen. And the extra ban, right, for India was basically because the fact that there was so many cases, even people which were New Zealand residents and were about to go in quarantine and all that, they were just not allowed to come and come to New Zealand. So the situation is not under control in pretty much no part of the world. Even some countries which are extremely high vaccination rates, it's not under control. On top of that, take in consideration the fact that New Zealand has a very low percentage of the population vaccinated just yet. So the borders are not going to be widely reopened until the New Zealand population is vaccinated. And the general population vaccination programs only start at the end of July. At that point, this is when you can get started in getting your vaccine. So then after you have to have, the first dose and then wait 3 weeks and get another dose. And on top of that, you have to do the entire population. So don't plan ahead. I don't think this is happening until 2022. Obviously, it's just my gut feeling. Please refer to only to the official information, and you can find some information on the Ministry of Health, the New Zealand Ministry of Health website. And this is the best way for you to actually get your information. Don't get information from Facebook or from social media or from any of that. It's usually very, very wrong. So just go to the official source of information, and then you're going to get this information. We're just trying to relay our opinion rather and make sure that it's very clear, like our prediction. But then we try to stay clear from any subjective opinions and everything like that, because there's too much fake news around. All right, Clay says, all the Tuatara I had over the years, I've never realized that about bottle.
Really?
What do you mean? You never realized the bottle is like super rugged and it's like pointy on your fingers because it's like a
scaly Tuatara.
Like a scaly Tuatara. Really? Maybe you have Tuatara after having too many of them.
Yeah, and maybe by the point you've had your Tuatara, you've not been able to feel your fingers anymore.
Kiwi Loren says, I'm a big musical theatre fan. Would Wellington, because of the art scene, and Auckland, because of the population, be the most likely place to catch a musical?
Absolutely, yes. Wellington has several theatres, actually, several sort of events, venues where musicals and theatre productions happen. So that's definitely a really good place. And Auckland, yes, because it is the largest city in New Zealand, they do definitely have venues and theatres as well for that sort of thing. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Both of those cities would be the best place to base yourself if you wanted to see musical theatre.
Yes. So Emoji Guy says, on Instagram, you ask for advice for first-timers in hostel stayers. And I did answer with a list. I'm curious to hear your advice, especially for hostels in New Zealand. Cool. So yeah, we may share about 10 tips with you about the first time staying in a hostel, and we'll go over all of that. So staying in a hostel is a really good way to save money when traveling in New Zealand. It's a good way to also find people to travel with when traveling around New Zealand if you travel solo. So I'm going to get started with the first tip that I have to say is that hostel is not just for people that want to stay in a bunk room. There are really good options in hostels to stay in private rooms, even with your own ensuite bathroom, meaning that you don't even have to share the bathroom, and it still can be cheaper than a lot of hotels. But on top of that, it helps you save a lot of money because you have access to a full kitchen. So you can get the advantages of pretty much everything. So you do not have to stay in a bunk room if you want to stay in a hostel. That's my first tip.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to storing food, there are communal kitchens in hostels. That means there's also communal fridges, but to make sure that you don't, lose your food or someone takes your food or you end up accidentally taking someone else's food, then typically in New Zealand, people usually get a bag or a cooler bag or something, or even a box, and they write, there's usually labels available for you to write your name and what checking out. Usually, it's best to just keep all your food together in the same bag or box and make sure that you label it correctly, and that way the food is all sorted and you know where your food is and you don't end up getting stolen or chucked out by staff. Because also if you don't label it correctly and it looks like that you haven't put the date on properly, for instance, then the staff might think you've already checked out and they'll check out your food, or check out your food, they'll get rid of your food, or they'll put it into like the free food section. Usually there's like a free stuff or free food shelf. So that's about food.
All right, so the next thing about a hostel is that it's as I mentioned during the introduction, it's a great way to meet other travelers. So if you are traveling alone in New Zealand and you feel like you want to spend some time with international travelers, with random people that are traveling as well, and meet some friends from all around the world, which is fantastic. I've done that for years and I love it. It's a great way to meet people. So don't be shy. Spend some time in the kitchen. This is kind of like the most communal place. There is also obviously some communal,
like lounges,
eateries, lounges, and everything like that. But hang out by the kitchen. This is where conversation usually sparks and happen. And borrow some salt from someone, and usually the conversation starts from an accent. Say, "Oh, where's your accent from?" or this and that. And it's a great way to actually meet some people. So a good way also to find some people to do an activity with is to tell people, "Hey, tomorrow I'm going to do whale watching, and we're in Kaikoura. Anyone wants to join me?" And you get some people to come and do the activity with you. And at the end of the day, you usually all have a meal together and everything. It's a great way to make a solo trip in New Zealand a social trip as well. And I really love that about hostels. So that's tip number 3.
Okay. Tip number 4 would be it would be about laundry. So another thing that hostels have are communal laundry rooms where there's lots of dryers, there's lots of washing machines. So one thing to note is that usually it's not good etiquette to wash your stuff in the washing machine and then dry it by hanging up your clothes in your room and stuff. Basically, if there are washing lines outside of the hostel, then you can by all means use those. But usually people actually tumble dry their clothes to get it dry rather than hanging them up everywhere. And on a second note, if you do find a hostel with really good washing machines, then actually go use them, even if you're not quite ready to do your laundry yet, because most washing machines in hostels around New Zealand aren't the best. They're a little bit old, and you'll find that when you're tumble drying your clothes, they're probably not going to dry unless you have quite a light load. So, once you do find that hostel with the perfect washing machine and the perfect tumble dryer, then use it. Take up the opportunity to use it, because that's quite a rare occurrence.
Okay, so the next tip that I'm going to have for you guys is that you want to be mindful if you stay in a dorm. You don't have to stay in a dorm, as I mentioned very early on, and a lot of couples, when they travel around New Zealand, choose to stay in a hostel but not in a dorm. But if you do stay in a dorm, just be mindful of other people. So if you're leaving the next morning and you're leaving quite early because you're catching a flight or a bus or anything like that, just pack everything the night before. Have everything at the ready so you can do the minimal amount of noises. If you are planning to do an activity on the next day and you're leaving quite early, I usually have my clothes for the next day kind of prepared, so I can just grab that and change myself quite quickly. So just be mindful of other people. It's the same thing like turning off your phone, on silent mode at night. Just those kind of things. Being mindful of people is quite important.
Yeah, just an extra few tips on being mindful of other people as well. When you are in your dorm, make sure that you're tidy, so you don't have all your stuff scattered all over the place. Usually people just keep all their stuff either, on the bed that they've decided to take, or just still in their backpack or in their suitcase. Just don't throw things all over the place. Also, wear clothes. Some people like to sleep in the nude. Some people like to sleep
I'm just French, okay?
like to sleep in their underwear and stuff. But you are sharing a room with other people, and but other people might feel uncomfortable if you strip down when you are walking around the dorm or going to sleep or whatever. So yeah, just wear some clothes, pack some PJs if you are staying in a dorm, and yeah, that's another thing.
Okay, so on the next tip that I want to talk about right here, I want to, I really want to share something about life in hostels, right? So in a hostel, you cannot have two different type of travelers, maybe 3, 4, but it's, we do have some article on NZ Pocket Guide where we share like the type of travelers you're always going to find, but the main difference is that you do have long-termers in hostel and you have people that just pass by. So long-termers are people which are, let's say working in the area or even working in that hostel, and they're going to be staying here for like 2, 3, 4 months. And then you have people that just pass by and, you just travel around, you stay 2 nights and then you move on, or even just 1 night, right? So just know that at some point, if you decide to become a long-termer, let's say you are in a town that you really enjoy, you're going to find a job, it is highly likely that you will be moved to a dorm or to a section of the hostel where there is more long-termers. So you have to make sure that you are you understand what is your place, in kind of that hostel, and that, you're going to be living in kind of a different pace. The long-termers, they usually kind of eat together, drink together, party together, those kind of things. It's kind of a group. And the travelers are usually much more like fleeting and going around and everything. So you'll have more chance to actually do things with the travelers rather than with the long-termers, which are just kind of here, they've done all those stuff around, and it's kind of like, they just like to do their own little thing. And usually it's more like the party kind of style.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to, I think that's our last tip now, Laura.
Yeah, the last tip, which you'll actually be reminded of profusely when you go and stay in a hostel, is to do your dishes. There are signs everywhere in every hostel we've ever been to in New Zealand where there's big signs above the sink saying, do your dishes, because it is a communal kitchen. Yep. So when you do although there are plenty of, crockery and utensils and pots and pans available, usually you have like all that stuff available to you, except knives are always blunt. But yeah, you have all that available to you. But when you use it, after you use it, wash it straight away, put it and dry it and put it back where, usually where it's meant to be stacked. That's usually the bane of any hostel owner's life and any person actually staying in a hostel, because it's kind of grimy to go into a hostel, which is... Yeah. There's dishes everywhere, and you actually have to do the dishes of someone else in order to use that pan because they didn't do it. It's always really annoying. So don't be that guy. Make sure you do your dishes.
So hostels are a great alternative accommodation in New Zealand. We actually think it's one of our favorite ways to travel around just because of this communal spirit. I know that we talked a lot about like rules or unspoken rules and everything, but it shouldn't be a daunting experience. No. It's a great thing to do when traveling around New Zealand. If you want more tips to live in hostel or even to travel in New Zealand, you can head out to nzpocketguide.com. It is the largest travel guide to New Zealand, but if you click on accommodation, then hostels, there is a tab that says hostel tips. And there is plenty of articles right here just to help you understand what is life in hostel and how it is to travel around New Zealand in hostels. So that may be a great starting point if you are looking into backpacking around New Zealand, or if you're just looking into saving on accommodation and having an opportunity to save heaps on food as well, because you get to make your own food in hostel, which I love. All right. Obviously, if you found this video useful, make sure to like and subscribe, because YouTube tell you to do that. Let's go back to the live chat. Where are we on right now? That was Emoji Guy. Monica says, thank you so much. You're very welcome. Monica. Grant Montgomery, which has a dog, he says...
hello, G here from Ohio.
Indeed, G in the house. Robert says 160 breweries, and yet they closed down operations at the plant that made Robin's favorite juice. Life is not fair. Yeah, that's true. Good
true
memory.
Story.
Good memory. But yeah, there is a lot of breweries in New Zealand. Love Kush, would you like to read what he says?
Yeah, they say, hi, I am from India. I want to do masters from New Zealand in dentistry. Guide me. Okay, that is very straight to the point statement. And yeah, unfortunately, this is a travel channel here at NZ Pocket Guide. So we really we can answer questions on what to do once you arrive in New Zealand, what you can do in different destinations and different cities. We can definitely guide you on those aspects. However, we're not really a channel for careers advice. So we wouldn't be the right people to really give you advice on that, I'm afraid. So sorry, Love Kush, we cannot really answer your question with any expertise behind it.
However, if you want to dig your teeth into some amazing food, we're always happy to talk about delicious treats to try in New Zealand when traveling. So here's my segue to today's quiz. Just after this live session, I actually just remembered. I was like, oh, there is a quiz, because I scheduled them the week before, so sometimes I forget. So yeah, so just after this live session, we're going to have a quiz about food in New Zealand. So make sure you stick around at 9:15. Today, we're going to do premiere. So Laura is going to be doing the quiz as well. And yeah, if you have watched the video that we published yesterday, which were our 10 favorite foods in New Zealand, you may have got a few hints for that quiz. So yeah, keep on telling us, by the way, if you do like the quiz. The amount of views on those quiz are really down, so I may only do one or two more. That's pretty much it. It's really not that popular, so yeah, because it's a lot of work to get them, sorted. But yeah, so yeah, tell us if you do like the quiz and everything. But otherwise, just stick around. There's going to be a quiz. That'd be fun.
Yeah. And we know that you guys are a big fan about New Zealand food.
Yeah, you guys always make us talk about food.
So many questions about food. Yeah. So since you guys have asked so many questions, you surely are the experts now in all things New Zealand food. So you should get this quiz, 15 out of 15, I think, most people.
And also, so we did publish a video with our favorite foods of New Zealand just yesterday. So tell us if you agree, disagree, or if we missed anything that you liked as well. Okay, so Milandino Physio says, good morning. You all look so cool today. Oh, thank you very much.
Cool or cold? We are cold.
Yeah, I was about to say, I have a drink right here because I'm cold.
Yeah.
So you can guess my questions. Yes, I can. When you see my name, I hope you remember my usual question. Yes, I definitely do remember your usual question. And guess what? We addressed it at the beginning of the video. So, Laura, are the borders open in New Zealand? When are they opening?
The borders, as you probably have guessed, they're still not open to all international travellers just yet. The borders are actually only open to the Cook Islands and some states in Australia. So
the Cook Islands are also known as the Cook Islands, not just the Cook Islands. But
I like to add a little bit of, flair to my sentences.
The Cook Islands.
So unfortunately, yes, there's no new information for opening to all international travellers. However, if you want to see our border predictions video, which we have on YouTube, Robin's putting on the screen right now.
He's
trying to put on the screen right now how you can search that on YouTube. If you can't put it on the screen, I'll just tell you, just search NZ border predictions on YouTube, and you'll see our predictions video, which gives people a lot more context as to why the borders are closed, when we think they'll open, and what sort of criteria that the government might use to open the borders to other countries, all that sort of stuff. So make sure you head over to that video to get a much lengthier answer to that question.
We may have to refresh that video at some point, but I feel like the predictions are remaining the same, so it's hard to kind of want to do it again, because kind of like, well, our prediction won't change. It's just to make a newer video.
The only updates really is that, yes, it's now open. The borders are open just to the Cook Islands, which is a small group of islands in the South Pacific, and to some states in Australia. So that's the things that are the main changes that have happened. But obviously, that doesn't apply to many people.
All right, emoji guys giving us some praises. Anthony Comstock, which is from Rodeo, California, says Morena is here.
Morena.
Look at that. A little bit late, but that's okay. We still had you in our hearts. We have Kiwi Lauren that says she'll be here for the quiz, and Nathan Bath that says he'll be here for the quiz. Nathan, you don't have to go to work today. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Emoji guy says, follow-up questions about mobile plans from the last session. About prepaid mobile plan. Can visitor visa owners recharge the plan with cash? Yes, of course. You can actually go to any convenience stores or any supermarket and say, hey, I would like to recharge my, and one of the examples we were taking last week was Skinny Mobile. You can just say, hey, I would like a $20 voucher for Skinny Mobile. So they only come in set amount, right? So you're going to be only able to recharge 10, 20, and 50, I think, something like that, right? So you give them $20 cash. They would print out a little voucher that would have a code, and you just have to enter the code. But you can also do that with credit cards through the apps and all of that. So yes, absolutely very easy to recharge with cash as long as you go to a convenience store or a supermarket.
which there are plenty of.
Plenty. He said, I mean, it's only 28 days after planned expiration. What a tourist can do for about 3 months. Yeah, just recharge.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you were here for 3 months, honestly, I would do one bundle. Like I will buy like a $50 voucher, so like that you have it, and then you have you can set your plan in auto renew, and you never have to worry about it again. That would be my go-to, because I like to make things easy. And he's giving us emojis of pictures, shaka hands, mobile phone, and an old-fashioned phone. When was the last time you saw a phone looking like that? Honestly, look at that red phone.
I'm glad there's an emoji for it, though.
I know, but like, I mean, it's like those phones with like the round dial. Like, you put it like one number, like 1, 2.
They were so fun.
Oh my God. Lassie says, my baby, I work her. I can visit my family after I can return. Yeah. Well, thank you for the comment. That's really nice of you. If you do have a question, feel free to ask. We're here to talk mostly about traveling in New Zealand. So, yeah. Kiwi Lauren says, one thing that always surprised me about New Zealand is how cold your houses are. We all have central heating. So she says in Canada, we have to our pipes, otherwise our pipe will freeze in the winter. Is it still common not to have heating in New Zealand? Yes, very much so. So we have finished kind of renovating our house in New Zealand. So we do have insulation like floors, ceilings. We do have double glazing on all the windows. We have a heat pump cranking. So right now, honestly, we say we're cold, but are you really cold, Laura, right now?
No, it's actually okay, fine, yeah. But yeah, that's true. New Zealand houses don't tend to have.
Let me check on the app how cold it is.
Yeah, so New Zealand houses don't tend to have central heating, although I have seen that a few, particularly some motels more towards the lower South Island, I've seen a few of them sort of using central heating as sort of like a marketing, I guess a marketing line to be like, like, we have central heating, come stay with us. So, I mean, it is available in very rare cases and in some motels, but yeah, most houses are, they're pretty basic when it comes to heating.
Yes. So just to give you an indication, in our house on the part which is not heated over there, because I didn't turn on the machine and the heater, it's 15 degrees over there. So it's pretty good. It's not that terrible. We're just a bunch of wuss. Before I answer all the other questions, Lassie, you gave me a phone number right here, so I'm just going to, for your privacy, hide that. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask them in the live chat right now. This is kind of what we do. When people ask us questions, we answer them in public in order to help everybody, not just one person. So I'm going to hide that message just for your own privacy, but feel free to ask your questions in the comments.
Yeah.
We just don't do like private consulting or like private help like that. We're more like here to help everybody. We're trying to build a community of travelers kind of helping each other and all that, rather than just doing travel advice for everybody, because we're not really travel agents, and us spending one-on-one time with everybody will, cost us a lot of time, and therefore we'd have to charge people. It's not really what we want to do. We're more the fun kinds here. Although I had to do that a few times. Okay, Milandino says, thank you so much for the guessing. You're very welcome. Cecile, do you want to read what Cecile says?
They say, I heard winter is starting and has started in the South Island. Stay warm, you guys. Yeah, so winter in
Technically, it's starting in 2 days.
Yeah, the winter in New Zealand sort of officially starts at the beginning of June to the end of August. So that's when the winter is sort of, that's when it's considered winter in New Zealand. But yes, we definitely the temperatures are dropping, and you can tell that winter is just around the corner right now. So it's been very rainy well, in the central North Island, it's been very rainy for the past couple of days. So yeah, we will stay warm.
And in fact, we are coming up to June. So what about we share with people 5 tips for traveling in June in New Zealand? So we thought we'd start doing that a little bit more on the last live session before New Month. We'll tell you guys some tips about traveling in that upcoming day. So yes, guys, it's already June coming up really soon, in only a couple of days. So we are hey guys, it's June already. let's just share a couple of tips with you about traveling in New Zealand in June if you're planning to explore the country.
Yeah. So tip number 1, make sure that you wrap up warm. It is like Robin says, it's going to be the first month of winter. So make sure that when you're out and about, pack a few extra layers, particularly wool or polypropylene are usually good sort of materials to use to make sure that they are warm layers, not cotton. Cotton's usually not so great for if you're out and about in the outdoors. Also make sure to pack a rain jacket because the rain is really on and off. Next tip, shall I just go through all of the tips? Yep. Is that if you are planning to come to New Zealand, particularly at this time, if you're coming from Australia, for instance, to come here for the winter season, then just know that the ski fields don't actually tend to open until July in New Zealand, despite it actually being winter in June. The ski fields aren't really ready for people until July. And even so, it's better to come more in August or September for the winter season. So just bear that in mind if you are thinking of coming to do skiing in June. Next tip is that if you are renting a vehicle and you are coming in June and you're planning on going over some mountain passes, particularly in the South Island, like Arthur's Pass or Lewis Pass or any of those passes, make sure that your car rental does have some snow chains included, or add them as an add-on just in case you do get caught up in the snow if you are traveling over there. However, if you're not going up into mountainous areas, then you're probably not really going to need them. The rest of the climate around New Zealand is more of a maritime climate, so that means that snow very rarely reaches the sort of coastal areas, so you don't really need to worry too much about having snow chains for that. Where are we? Oh, yes. So also June is the low season in terms of tourist season and how busy it's going to be in New Zealand. So with that in mind, you don't really tend to need to book too far in advance to get a spot in accommodations, except for places that have very limited accommodation but are always really popular. For instance, Milford Sound, they do have one accommodation there that should always be booked in advance. And for instance, Lake Tekapo, that's a really small town with limited accommodation as well. So it tends to be better to book for those places in advance. But for the rest of the country, you can enjoy more spontaneous travel. However, if you are going to be doing, and this moves on to our next tip, if you are going to be doing some activities that are a little bit less popular, a bit more out there, then it does actually pay to just let the operators know a couple of days in advance, because chances are you'll actually be the only ones doing that tour, and they usually will need to know if people are going to do that tour to put it on for you. So just make sure that you give some operators maybe a couple of days heads up. But then you get the awesome opportunity to do tours all to yourself, which is always good. Robin and I have actually done quite a few tours by ourselves as we traveled around New Zealand, particularly whitewater rafting.
Yeah, that's so cool.
In Napier was really cool to just do just the two of us and our guide.
Big up to Mohaka rafting, by the way.
And I actually think that I've done the tips in out of order, but yeah.
So if you are traveling, obviously in June 2021, which is what we're talking about right now, also there is still, the COVID crisis all around New Zealand and everything. And New Zealand is still at COVID-19 alert level 1, which means it's all under control. However, you still need to use the app. Download and use the app when traveling around New Zealand. So make sure you do that. So in case there is any outbreak, you can be isolated quite quickly. Finally, obviously, due to COVID-19, a lot of business have closed. A lot of business have kind of like temporarily shut down. A lot of business have reduced hours and everything. So make sure you do extra research and you book things a little bit in advance. At the moment, it's a little bit, it's a bit harder to travel around New Zealand. Okay, with that in mind, if you guys want some more tips about traveling in New Zealand in June, you can head to nzpocketguide.com like that with Laura's beautiful face right here. And you can head to travel tips, then travel advice, and then New Zealand month by month. And right here, you will be able to find a ton of articles, one for each month, in fact. And if you head to June, you keep on going. It's not in order because it's in order of popularity. So June is not one of the most popular months, which is quite interesting. Anyway, New Zealand in June right here. And here you get our travel tips. You also get a rundown on all the events, the activities which are best done in June, the typical prices that you're expecting to pay when traveling in New Zealand in June. So it's all on nzpocketguide.com. If you did find this video useful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit like. It's free and it says thank you for all our hard work. And YouTube tell you to say that. Anyway, in the meantime, let's go back to the live chat. What has been going on? Robert says, you get a lot of inquiries from students and travelers. Education is important, but travel is importanter.
Mhm.
I agree with that. Very much agree with that. Education is wise. Swapnil says, hi from India. Are Indian tourists allowed to travel in New Zealand now? If not, when is it expected to open? So no, Indian tourists are not allowed to come to travel to New Zealand. And if you want to learn more about our New Zealand travel predictions, you're more than welcome to check out our border opening prediction video, which is right here on this channel. To find it, I'm going to show you on screen what you need to do, right? It's going to be super easy, barely any inconvenience to find it on YouTube. So to find it, you are going to go on YouTube. You're going to go on the search bar and you're going to be typing the following words. If you type those words on YouTube, you'll find a video of us explaining when we think the New Zealand border will open. It's going to be super easy for you to find your answer. We go in depth, we explain all the intricacies and everything. But in short, there is no official information. Those will be just prediction. So I hope that's going to be super easy for you, Swapnil. Okay, Q Lawrence says, did you guys ever meet legendary Les from the Poo Pub at Lake Mahi Napua? Ooh, that was a hard one to read.
No, we haven't.
No, that's a lot of words. Legendary Les from the Poo Pub.
Legendary Les. No, sorry, we have not met legendary Les. But
do tell.
Yeah, who is this person? Tell us more.
Laura, Swapnil has a question for you and say, what would you prefer, Milford Sound Cruise or Doubtful Sound Cruise? He's inviting you to travel with him. Swapnil is like, come on, Laura, come with me. Where do you want to go? Milford Sound or Doubtful Sound?
Well, it depends on how much time you have in the country. If you have a lot of time and you do have the time to spare, then I would recommend doing the Doubtful Sound Cruise. It takes an entire day to do this experience, which starts from a little town, a little village right next to Tianau, which is kind of, Tianau is about an hour or a couple of hours away from Milford Sound. This experience actually takes you, if you're starting in Tiano, you have to take a bus to Lake, is it Manapuri?
Yeah.
And then from there, a ferry across Lake Manapuri to another bus, which then takes you through the most isolated road in the country in the Fiordland National Park to finally the cruise in Doubtful Sound, which lasts, I think it lasts quite a few hours. It's actually a lot longer than the Milford Sound cruise. But what you'll find in Doubtful Sound is that it's a lot quieter. There's nowhere near as many cruises happening there. Only one or two. I think it's only one, to be fair. And then there's a few kayaking tours and stuff happening there. So it feels a lot less touristy. It's a lot less quieter. But then on the other side of things, Milford Sound is a really awesome thing to do. If you have limited time, you can either drive there yourself or take one of the many bus tours to get there. And then when you get there, it's a cruise of about 45 minutes to an hour. And that the sceneries are very similar between the two. So if you're just looking for the scenery, it's quite the same, but in terms of just the ambience and or how long the experience is, that's where it differs the most. And Milford Sound's a little bit of a shorter experience, but there are a lot more people going there and it feels a lot more touristy. There's a lot of boats and a lot of activity happening at Milford Sound.
So to be quite clear, right, both of them are actually really awesome, right?
Yes.
I love Doubtful Sound and I love Milford Sound. But it is true what Laura said, right? You will have a more intimate and more epic experience in Doubtful Sound, but the convenience of Milford Sound and still the sheer epicness of the landscape is not to be overstated, because a lot of people that come to travel as tourists around New Zealand don't necessarily have that much time, and being able to allocate, that entire day, it basically will take 2 days out of your itinerary, because you have to drive to Tianau, you have to stay there, you have to do that for the whole day, and you can only drive off on the next day. It is a lot of a time toll on your itinerary, if I may say so, in that way. So I will be more looking at my timing rather than which one do I prefer?
Yeah, and I also think budget-wise as well, actually, Milford Sound tends to be a cheaper option because there are different cruises and there are different activities to do in Milford Sound. For instance, you can drive down to Milford Sound and do a couple of the short walks and get to see Milford Sound from the foreshore rather than even going on a cruise, for instance. So if you actually have very limited budget, then Milford Sound might be a better option than Doubtful Sound, which only has a few, like maybe one or two cruises and one kayaking option. Then they tend to be more expensive.
Yeah.
So there's that to take into consideration as well.
Yeah, and I wanted to say something else and I forgot. So here you go.
I can tell you also, you can compare the two experiences
that's what I was
on
saying.
our videos on YouTube.
She's so smart.
We
Look
have
at that.
filmed both experiences, so you can find them on YouTube. All you have to do on YouTube is search Doubtful Sound NZ Pocket Guide or Milford Sound NZ Pocket Guide, and you can compare our videos and see for yourself which one you think looks the best.
So Fruit Loop is going to take a 5-minute break and come back later.
All right.
Enjoy.
Good luck, Fruit Loop.
Okay, let's go back to Kiwi Lauren. She said, he passed away. So that's for the legendary Les. Passed away, but he was a legend indeed. He ran a hotel in Lake Mahi, Napua. And Kiwi Experience bus stopped there on their South Island route. Oh, cool. Swapnil says, you guys are always invited to India for 730 days, 730 activity thing.
Wow.
Tons of content. So in New Zealand, we did 365 days, 365 activities. You think we should do 730 in India? That sounds like a long time.
That's probably as many days as you need.
That's
to
2
do
years,
everything.
basically. Yeah, that's 2 years. Wow. So yeah, Kiwi Lauren is elaborating on the dressed up parties and costumes and everything like that. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's fun. That's fun. Harish RG says, you have been doing this prediction since last year. Unfortunately, New Zealand borders is closed for a majority of the countries. I'm sure you will get better content once the border restrictions are relaxed. Well, we have done this prediction since last year, and guess what? Since last year, we've been saying it's probably going to be, late 2021 to early 2022, and that's why we haven't updated this prediction, because we still think it's actually quite accurate. So on one hand, it's kind of a pat on our back because we were relatively accurate on that prediction, and we think that it's still correct. But we may update this video, at some point, because there's something trying to refer people to a video which is like 6 months old is a bit hard because you guys don't trust it anymore, which I don't know why. We still think it's accurate, but when it comes down to our better content, right? We do still get quite a lot of travel questions, which we're pretty happy with. We actually obviously were pretty worried when that started happening, and when we saw there'd be a gap of 2 to 3 years on actual tourism here in New Zealand. So we were a little bit worried, but we still get a decent amount of travel questions. We still have some travel content coming for you guys. And to be fair, we are more focused on trying to actually have the right amount of, the right content, good information for you guys, rather than having a lot of it or some super flashy content. I mean, honestly, look at our channel. There's nothing flashy here, It's us two on the couch talking, showing some pictures. It's us two traveling around New Zealand with the GoPro and kind of showing you some awesome activities that we really like. And it's us two just sharing our knowledge of New Zealand and telling you to check the website because there is more information on the website. But yeah, so it's basically what we do on this channel, right? So our focus is not really to be like YouTube personalities or anything like that. It's to actually give you guys the right information for people which are willing to search enough or to search specific question enough to actually get the answer to their question. So for us, that's way more important than just having the borders open and being able to kind of answer, like the same question over and over again or stuff like that. We're really happy with how things are currently working. And we also actually do a lot of work with some of the South Pacific Islands and everything. So we may create some contents for some of the South Pacific Islands. So you guys may see some of that coming up, at some point. I really don't know when, but at some point. So that's kind of the thing that we're doing. Sometimes we dabble and try some different things, like right now we're doing, doing a few quizzes, after those live sessions, just to see if you guys enjoy that. So we dabble with a few different things, but the main focus on this channel is to actually give you real answer to questions if you travel in New Zealand. So yes, the border being closed obviously make it that we only have right now on this video, we only have 22 people, right? 22 people, 13 likes. That means there's 9 of you that didn't even like the video. I mean, come on.
Come on, guys.
But yeah, so that means we only have 22 people watching it, but it doesn't really matter for us. We still spend an hour every single week sitting on that couch and answering your question. Should there be, sometimes we actually did it. Actually, a couple of times, true story, couple of times we did those live sessions, and I by mistake clicked and left it on private. So we did the whole live session answering questions that people ask us, previously, because we always have a backlog of questions. So we did the whole time. We're like, man, almost no one is asking us questions. It's really dead today, and we answer just questions back to back to back, and we still spend our hour that whole week answering questions, despite the fact that we had absolutely 0 views. Not a single viewer. So we do know that there are some people that need it. And even if a video that we do only has like 200 views at the end of the day, that's 200 people that we actually helped. And we're happy with that. It doesn't matter anymore. We don't need a million viewers every single time. But if you want to share what we do and give us a million viewers, we'll take it. So go ahead. If you're super famous on the internet and want to share what we do, go ahead, mate. Harish, RG. Feel free to share that. Extreme Telota says Morena. What does Morena mean?
It means good morning in the Maori language of New Zealand.
Ooh. Nathan Baith says, I'm studying for the quiz at this moment. I enjoy doing the quizzes. You're studying for the quiz about food in New Zealand. Are you just saying that you're snacking? I mean,
I would like to study for this quiz as well, actually. Pass me that. Pass me International
Happy Biscuit Day.
Biscuit Day.
Okay, so Laura is studying for that food quiz as well. Mosen says, quiz, I'm all ready. Yep, so the quiz is coming in. Let's have a look. There is 9 plus 15. That's 24 minutes. The quiz is coming up. Swapnil says, any particular car rental companies you would like to recommend? Too many mixed reviews on the internet. I need your help for some top 2 to 3 best car rentals companies. Okay, Swapnil, I'm going to show you something. Let me just swap to... No, that's not correct. I'm going to try again. I'm going to do this, that. I'm going to share now. Now you should be able to see my screen. So that's the NZ Pocket Guide. That's the last place that I showed you guys. Like New Zealand in June. So if you want to go to travel tips right here, and then transportation, and then it depends what you kind of want to do, right? If you want bus, road trips, car rental and everything. But let's say you want car rental companies, you click on there, and then you have all our recommendation, and you can actually sit down with your partners or with your travel buddies and actually go over what we have. So we obviously talk about car location and everything, and we also give you some ways to save money on car rental, which is always quite handy. And then where are the best car rental? Okay, cool. So it starts here. So you have the best car rental company in Christchurch. So let's say you start in Christchurch. You have the best car rental company in Queenstown, for example. So let's click on Queenstown. You can go to the next page right here, and you'll be able to find Auckland and everything. So wherever you start your trip, this is what you're going to want to be looking at. So you get a few things to look at for sure. And then straight away, you get our listings of like all the companies that actually know, like, and trust. And on there, we give you a little bit of extra to see if it's the right thing for you. Like, for example, on the inclusion for all the Apex rental car companies, you always have multiple drivers, which is quite handy. Some companies, they give you one driver and you have to pay extra for each drivers. But the driver have to be 21 years old or older. So if you are a bunch of younger people, last time we had a group of young German, they were all 18 and they wanted to rent a car. So that would not be the right car rental company for them. So you have literally all the company that we know and like, and we actually need to go for. And so I will strongly advise you to go to NZ Pocket Guide and find that. And you just start with the place where you're starting in, right? So you have Auckland right here. I don't know why it's back. So family car rental, Wellington, Auckland is somewhere. Did I skip
maybe
it?
you skipped it. But the thing with are the best car rental companies in New Zealand.
Auckland is here.
Is that obviously choosing what is best for you might be not the best for someone else, because like Robin said, there's age restrictions on some of the rentals. For instance, some of the rentals are quite expensive compared to others. For instance, Go rentals, they tend to be more expensive, but they're quite good.
They're really good though, but they are really expensive.
Yeah, so they're good quality, but they are more expensive than other car rental companies. So it's really, we would definitely recommend going onto our website, doing the comparisons between the different car rental companies so that you can see we'll give you information for you to sort of determine that on your own, what you think those car rental companies would offer you that you would consider the best.
So the address is right here on screen for you, Swapnil. So it's nzpocketguide.com, and then that showed you. You go travel tips, and then transportation, and then car rental, and then you just go through the article and you pick where you want to start. So you start in Auckland, and then you do that. And I think that's going to be really useful for you. Yeah. Oh, look at that. 17 people watching, 17 likes.
Wow.
That is all of you guys like us.
The world
awesome.
Is balanced. Everything is good in the world.
I have to say that is really soothing to my OCD right now.
And 18 and 18.
Oh, you guys are soothing my OCD right here. I love it.
The scales have gone the other way. It's 19 likes now and 17 people. Okay.
So Yeah. So I hope that's useful for you, Swapnil. And again, like, you want 3 companies to compare, like literally, like the 3 one that I showed you on screen right now. Like, I do like Apex Rental. I think they're pretty good. Omega is pretty good as well, and Go Rental is pretty good, but expensive. But again, Celsius, start from the website, check those things. We have a link anyway for you to go to those website, to their personal website afterwards anyway. So yeah, start on NZ Pocket Guides. Have a quick read. It's really not long of a read, as you saw, and there's a lot of bullet points, so you can just skim through it. But it's really, it's going to be really useful for you to get started in that way. But yeah, keep the question coming, Sir Swapnil. It looks like you're planning a nice tourist holiday in New Zealand. So who are you planning to travel with?
Or are you planning on doing a solo trip?
Yeah.
Because that is always pretty cool to do in New Zealand as well.
Yes, and if you do a solo trip, stay in hostels, so you meet some mates along the way, and then you have friends from all the world, and you can go and visit them around the world. I mean, I did that for a while, and it's not that bad to know friends everywhere. Kiwi Lauren says, you are dedicated and doing a great job. Oh, you always have some nice word for us. One day you need to be mean to us. You need to say something mean. We need some sass. Emoji Guy says, I love your information and awesome content. Keep up the great work. Robin and Laura, thank you for helping me and numerous others through YouTube and NZ Pocket Guide website. Oh, and you give us flowers.
Very welcome, Emoji Guy.
Yes. It gives you 3 tulips and 2 bouquets of flowers. That's pretty nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, so one of the big topic at the moment as well is snow sports.
You are a solid head. Take that.
That's some stuff. I was like,
sass.
See that we have to stop talking about New Zealand for 1 second. I did spend a year in Canada, and Canadians are known to be very, very friendly. I know I say sorry. They actually are genuinely friendly. I literally just asked Kiwi Lauren to be mean to me, and she said, "You are a salad head." So that's basically as mean as it gets in Canada. So
now we can see why you don't insult us. But that's okay. I think that's nicer. I mean, in the context of YouTube, where sometimes it can be quite an evil place, it's nice to have people like Kiwi Lauren that the best she could do is call someone a salad head.
That's actually hilarious. I am looking for something for you, Swapnil. So Swapnil is asking, what is the best place for a honeymoon in New Zealand? I hope you got the answer. Okay,
the best place for a honeymoon.
Yeah. So one of the things that we have for you. So I am going to open this one for you right here, and then I'm going to show you something else. So I'm going to share my screen now. Here you go. So NZ Pocket Guide right here. So a couple of things for your honeymoon, Swapnil. When you are looking for accommodation right here, right, or even on activities and everything, right. When you go on travel style right here, you can click wedding and honeymoon right here, and you will only have articles, listings, or even trip IDs just for you. So for example, if I go on trip IDs right here, you go on travel style and wedding and honeymoon, you will have full itinerary done for you based on just kind of 2 of you and romantic activities right here. So if you want to do 2 weeks in New Zealand honeymoon itinerary, bam, you are sorted. You just click here and you have the whole itinerary done for you. So you have how to plan it, and then literally day 1 with our suggestion of best accommodation, to day 3, the whole thing is entirely done for you.
So that obviously includes all the destinations as well that we recommend to do, like a nice seamless itinerary around the country, so you get to experience different places in New Zealand, because that tends to be the best way to travel to travel New Zealand. Is to actually go to different places and experience different landscapes, because New Zealand is really diverse. As you're traveling around the country, you'll see loads of different things. You'll get to experience loads of different activities. So that's what these itineraries encourage. So you'll get to see like the best destinations through those itineraries.
That was trip IDs, then travel style, then wedding and honeymoon, and you will have plenty of itineraries. Now, if you already have an itinerary and you already know where you want to go, you go on accommodation and then travel style, and you go wedding and honeymoon. And we actually rank all our, like the most romantic kind of hotels and accommodation in every places in New Zealand. So Rotorua, Christchurch, Pahia, Taupo, there is Auckland. So that's our favorite kind of most romantic accommodation. We have obviously the same thing for activities. But we also do have a fun article, which is seriously romantic things to do for Valentine's Day in New Zealand. And yeah, there's really a lot of like fun kind of things which are like romantic. Look at Laura and I. Look at that.
Aren't we the romantic couple?
The romantic people. So yeah, so we even carved each other greenstone necklace and all that. So yeah, oh, that's so romantic. Anyway, enough of the cheese. But there is a lot of stuff for you on the site. So the most romantic kind of destinations and everything, honestly, I feel like you're still going to want to explore all of New Zealand. I'm trying to come back to full screen. Here you go. That's how you do it. So yeah, so you're still going to want to explore the whole of New Zealand. You're not going to travel in New Zealand just for one place, right? So I think you should go for one of those itineraries and go nuts. Kiwi Lauren says, this is actually a very stupid inside joke from many years ago. My dad, who is 66 apparently, was called a salad head and a poopy boy as a kid, and still funny. Oh, that's funny. Oh, well. Salad head. Is he like crazy curly hair? Grant says, great memory, Robin, on my dog. Rone says hi also. So Rone is the name of your dog, I guess?
Or Roan, maybe.
Roan?
Not sure how to pronounce that.
Yeah. He says, Laura, I got my quick dry towel and an expensive rain jacket. Cheers.
Oh, good. That means you're well equipped. You're almost fully equipped for visiting New Zealand. That's pretty cool.
Nice. Kiwinoen says, like a one-time insult that has to the rest of the time in our family. Yeah, well, that happens. Swapnil says, it's 2:30 a.m. here in India. What are you doing awake? What is wrong with you, Swapnil? Go to bed. He says, I need to go to sleep now. Exam tomorrow early morning.
Oh,
love
gosh.
you guys. Too much of useful content you guys give. Keep the work up. No worries. So if you can't make it at 2:30 a.m. in the morning, just so you know, on this channel, let's say like less than 24 hours after, this live session is republished. So what happened with live videos on YouTube, or at least what happened on our channel, I don't know why, but what YouTube does is that I need some water. Can you pass me the glass? So yeah, so what YouTube does is that it lets us go live and say whatever we want, and then it says, well, we need to review that videos because something is weird, which I don't know why, but every single week it does that. Then it takes about 24 hours to review that video because something is weird, and they manually review it, and once they manually review it, then they put it live on the channel. So you guys can always rewatch it when it's not live. All of our live session. This is live session 129. That is a lot of live sessions, which means I need to remember to schedule some more today. Hey, remember, Robin. Anyway, so that's live session 129, and all 129 of them are actually available on the channel. So you are absolutely more than welcome to watch all of them.
You can definitely wait a couple of days or a day later and rewatch the live session. But then on the downside of that is that you can't ask your question directly in the live chat. But on the upside of that, we tend to answer all the questions in the comment section below anyway. So, I mean, there's not much losing out there.
Yeah, I just really don't want you to feel obligated to stay at 2:30
sorry for you having
a.m.
to watch this at 2:30 a.m.
So and also again, if you guys put a question that we actually want to elaborate a lot on, in the comment section of any of our videos, we print them, we have them, and we answer them. So yeah, just feel free to actually do that. It's absolutely okay. There's no stress whatsoever. So what's coming up soon? It is almost 9 a.m. already here in New Zealand, but in about 10 minutes, so we're going to stay live for another 10 minutes. In about 10 minutes, we will have a quiz about food in New Zealand, and that's coming up after the fact that yesterday we did post a video of the two of us chatting about our favorite foods in New Zealand. So keep that in mind. So yeah, so there's going to be a question about food in New Zealand. It's reasonably easy, I think. I mean, there is a few tricky questions, but yeah, it's okay. Anthony Comstock says, stay safe, but I'm here until the end. He always says that.
He always likes to wrap up our live session for us. Thank you, Anthony.
Hendra Novi says it's 4:59 a.m. here in Indonesia. Are you kidding me?
So are you going to sleep after this, or are you waking up after this? I feel that's more like early morning wake up at this time.
We wake up at 5:30, so it's basically we will have another half an hour of sleep for us, but that is very early. So what are you doing in Indonesia? Are you planning a trip to New Zealand? If so, what are you planning on doing in New Zealand? We always love to know all of these kind of things. Again, it's winter. So one thing that I was about to say before, I was called a salad head, and then that completely stopped me along the way at some point.
I mean, it's very off-putting to be called a salad head.
Yeah. I mean, is there a salad emoji somewhere that you guys can use?
She did use it. She used it.
There is
a salad emoji.
Yeah, Nathan says ready for the quiz. Anyway, something I'm trying to talk about. People, stop cutting me. But yes, we are about to become winter. So in 2 days, it's going to be winter here in New Zealand. So the winter season, the ski season is kind of kicking off. And this is one of the things that people like to talk about a lot right now. So if you do have some questions about the winter season in New Zealand, if you do have some questions about ski fields and everything like that in New Zealand, go ahead. Now is the best time to ask all those questions. So for the next week or something, if you do have questions about winter in New Zealand, go nuts, because next week it's going to be the first week of winter and we will be talking a lot about the ski season. Couple of misconceptions. There is not just snow on the southern end. There is also northern end. There is also snow on the northern end. And actually the largest ski field in New Zealand is actually on the northern end of New Zealand. And yes, there are direct flights from Australia to Queenstown and to Auckland. So you are able to go both on the northern and the southern if you're in Australia and are looking for a trip down for ski fields.
Ski holiday.
Yeah. Cool. Nathan Bay says ready for the quiz, and Kiwi Lawrence says I didn't meant to be so cruel, but you asked for it.
Oh my God, Kiwi Lauren, I can't believe you're doing
How
that, putting all those salads on there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly. So the winter season is kicking off in New Zealand, and a lot of people are going to come skiing and snowboarding. There are already some deals coming up, but I personally have done some research on it, and accommodation is really not cheap this year. I feel that a lot of accommodation providers and also activity providers and all that are trying to make up for the loss of incomes from the last couple of years. And it's really not cheap. So even the locals that are going to want to go and enjoy the ski season in New Zealand are not going to get great bargains. Even on ski passes and everything like that, the prices are up from previous years. So it's not going to be like, don't think you're going to get COVID deals out of ski season in New Zealand. That's the first thing I want to say about the winter season, because some of them were really, really expensive. But some accommodation, and mostly like on the luxury kind of side, I find that are starting to get booked. So it looks like there is going to be an influx of people coming to New Zealand, which is quite a good thing, because that means that people are still interested in traveling in New Zealand. So yay.
Yeah.
Okay, Laura, where do you want to go skiing this year? I'm just going to get the link for the live session.
So where do we want to go skiing? I would actually say the South Island has the most amount of ski fields in New Zealand. We've spent a lot of time skiing in the North Island, a little bit around Queenstown, but actually there are a few ski fields near Christchurch that are definitely worth checking out.
Oh, do you want to go to Methven?
Yes. So near the town of Methven is a ski field called Mount Hood. This is one of the sort of largest, this is the sort of largest commercial ski field near Christchurch. However, it does have a bit of a reputation for sometimes, for the ski field being shut due to bad weather days. So it has earned itself the name of being called Mount Shut. But if you are lucky, it tends to be, if you're coming for a ski season and stuff, spending a week or a couple of weeks is usually a good time. You'll definitely get a good amount of ski days in for that amount of time. But if you are just looking for one ski weekend or just 3 days of skiing, then usually doing that, you could run the risk of it being shut for most of the time that you are in the area. So whenever you're planning a ski season anywhere in New Zealand, it pays to actually spend at least a week staying in the area, so to make sure that you do get a few good ski days in. But nice. Do you want me to talk some more about that? Or?
No, so just for you guys, I just did put the quiz link in the chat right now. So it's going to be in about like 7 minutes, something like that. Mosen says, I have another one. What is your favorite supermarket? Foursquare, Pack and Save, Countdown, Fresh Just, New World. Can you tell us your experience all around? Which one is good for what? And obviously, a lot of emojis from Emoji Guy. We've been to all the when you live somewhere, you always travel around, and you always end up going to all the different type of supermarkets, all the different kinds. At the moment, we mostly use either New World or Pack and Save, just for convenience. Honestly, my favorite supermarket, the one which is closest to where I am at the time. Right, there's not that crazy of a difference. I have to say, the Countdown, the Pack and Save and New World are the same company. Countdown is the same company that's something called Woolworth in Australia. So they all have their home brand, like that, their own brand of stuff, which are usually cheaper. Pretty much every supermarket brand in the world that does that. And I have to say, the home brands, from the Pack and Save and New World, which is called Palms, usually does better quality product than what the home brand from Pack and Save does.
Yeah.
So for this reason, I tend to prefer those ones, but it's really a matter of taste. Foursquare is more like of a convenience store, so it's usually quite small. It's actually also owned by the people that own New World and Pack and Save, but it tends to be a little bit more expensive. It's really mostly for convenience. It's mostly found in like smaller places, like for example in Stewart Island. If you're going to Stewart Island, the only supermarket is one Foursquare. So yeah. When it comes down to Fresh Choice, it's mostly on the South Island. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's mostly found on the South Island. And in terms of prices, that tends to be maybe slightly more expensive than Countdown, Pack and Save, and New World. So Fresh Choice tends to be my last choice. But yeah, I mean, but in some places that's the only supermarket. For instance, Tiana, which is the town, which is sort of the gateway to Milford Sound and the Fiordland National Park. I think Fresh Choice is the only large supermarket there. So sometimes that's your only option. It's fine. It's just marginally more expensive.
Yeah. So honestly, there is not much of a difference between that. And I feel like as a traveler in New Zealand anyway, just go where it's convenient for you. Like the first one that you find, just go nuts for that.
Yeah.
I feel like trying to pick like the best supermarket when you go around, it's just not that.
I was just going to say they all do different. They all have, good deals in certain areas which change weekly. For instance, like Countdown will have like some, really good deals on sort of the odd bunch fruit. So this is like fruit that hasn't made the cut for being sold, but it's like odd looking fruit. That tends to be a bit cheaper than other things. But then sometimes Pack and Save might have some insane deals on something else. It kind of all weighs itself out because they're all having different types of deals at different times. So yeah, like Robin says, we kind of take the approach of going to where we think it is the most convenient for us or where there is sort of like the most choice, because if you're in a really small town and all you have is like a Foursquare or maybe a really small New World, then you kind of maybe you would then be like, oh, because we want a bit more variety of stuff, we wait until we get to a larger town and we go to where there's a larger supermarket.
Now, just be prepared to actually experience high-cost food shopping, though. So in supermarket in New Zealand, you don't necessarily have that much competition, right? As mentioned, you give example. You have Foursquare, Pack and Save, Countdown, Fresh Choice, and New World, right? So Foursquare, Pack and Save, and New World are actually the same company. So that's already kind of removes a lot of choice. And then you have Countdown and Fresh Choice. And I actually do think that Fresh Choice buys stuff from Countdown, right? Is that correct? They buy it from
I'm not
I think that Fresh Choice, I know they're a different company, but I think that they buy from the same wholesaler than Countdown, because they do have some whole brand Countdown, if I'm correct. Some of the locals here may want to correct me if I'm saying that wrong. But I actually do think that basically you only have two choices, right? It's the New World group or the Countdown group, and that's pretty much it. So you don't have that much competition. And in many, many places, you will literally only have one. So you will only have one New World, only one Countdown. So therefore, there is no competition there. So just be aware that there's not a crazy amount of competition when it comes down to food shopping in New Zealand. So there is, you're not going to have them battling down to have cheaper prices or better service or anything like that. You basically just have to take what there is around, and that's it. So it is quite well known that food shopping in New Zealand is a little bit more expensive than what you usually experience back in your home country.
Yeah.
I've worked and traveled in many different countries, and we talk about it when Laura actually has a video when she compares the pros and cons of life in New Zealand, and I have a video as well on the pros and cons of life in New Zealand. I don't know if you watched it, emoji guy, but you should. And in these pros and cons videos of New Zealand, both of us actually do mention food shopping and the amount of choice that there is, also the cost and all those kind of things. So we all have we both have a little beef with food shopping in New Zealand. So you need to be aware of that. We're not upset, but if you have to find pros and cons, at some point you have to scrape the bottom of the barrel to find some cons. I mean, it's fine if I can choose my perfect brand. I still got my 99 cents mayonnaise last time. My French mayonnaise was 99 cents.
I can still eat, so that's all good. Yes, but if you want to have a look at sort of typical food prices, I did just update our article on NZ Pocket Guide, which is how expensive is New Zealand, and there is sort of a bullet point list there. Robin's going to bring it up on the screen right now. Food? I have a food or budget.
Probably budget.
Maybe budget.
Right. So travel tips, travel advice, and then budget.
Yeah, so there we have a list of typical foods in New Zealand and the typical price, more on the cheaper side, because of course there's always going to be more expensive options. If you get a more like luxurious brand of something, you can definitely spend more money on a liter of milk. Milk's not a good example, but for instance, pasta. There's many different brands of pasta, so you can by all means spend a lot more on pasta, but on this list we tend to list the sort of cheapest prices you can get for each of these typical food items. So go head over to there if you want to understand a little bit more about what typical food prices are in New Zealand. So that's the article, How Expensive is New Zealand?
There you go. And you have all of that just right here. I hope that helps you, emoji guy. Let me go back to where we are. I'm still getting used to that new software, isn't it? All right, guys. So we are going to be switching to the quiz. So, guys, there is a link in the description over there. Thank you very much for watching. 24/7 Pick Your Brain, nzpocketguide.com. Make sure to like and subscribe. You guys are awesome. Whatever YouTube tells me to say. And you guys rock. See you in the quiz in a few seconds. Bye-bye.
See you at the quiz.